In this video, I'm going to show you how to replace this secondary air injection valve on this Volkswagen Beetle. It's located towards the back of the engine, above the exhaust. Let's get into it. Now I'll disconnect the connector here. Just pull in on the tab and disconnect the hose here. Push down on the two tabs. It slides off. And using hose clamp pliers, squeeze that and slide the snorkel off, just like that. There's a couple screws right here and there. I'm going to take those off. Using a Phillips head screwdriver, take that off. You can take the cover off, just like that. We're going to take this tube off right here. I'm just going to use some hose clamp pliers. With this hose clamp, slide that off. Up here there's a connector. Disconnect the connector right there and slide that to the side. There's another hose clamp up here. And move this hose clamp just using some hose clamp pliers. And that slides right off. Just leave that on there. And just set that aside. We'll just take this pipe off, just push down and slide that off and out of the way. Be careful, it is pretty brittle. Sometimes they can crack. Now we're going to loosen up this pipe back here. To loosen up that pipe, I'm going to use a adjustable wrench. It's easier to fit this in there. Unless you have stubby wrenches, then you can use one of those. Get that to break free. And that's completely loose up there. We're going to go down below and loosen it up down below. Underneath, we're going to take this shield off that goes over the CV boot. We're going to use a 16mm socket. Take these two bolts out. Slide the shield down. Now from underneath, we're going to use the adjustable wrench and loosen it up. Loosen up that pipe. Now it's loose. Do that by hand. And just grab the pipe. Should be able to give it a wiggle. Just try to pry it out a little. And it comes right out. And now we're going to take these bolts out on the back side here. You're going to use the 6mm. And take these bolts out. You're just going to have to reach around. bolt out. That slides out. Now I'm going to use a 22 millimeter or 7/8 O2 sensor socket. You want to loosen up the O2 sensor. Once it's loose, just twist it out. You can pull up the wires a little bit, just so you have a little bit of slack. If you want to disconnect it from underneath, you can, but you don't have to. You can just twist it. And pull that out. We'll just set that aside. And grab the shield. And just move the coolant hoses out of the way a little bit. Very careful, try to pull this out. And it comes right out. You can see with this whole plate out where you wouldn't be able to do this in the car. There is 2 holes on the bottom here. This one we could access from underneath the vehicle, but because the way the exhaust manifold was, there's a webbing that's in the way and you can't access this bolt. And then if you had a real skinny Allen, then you'd be able to get in here, but not a lot of people have that. And it's a little bit tight in there, so it's just easier to take this whole plate out. We'll take the 5 millimeter hex socket and take this other screw out. And that slides out there. And then you can take the valve right off. Now we're just going to use a razor blade and just scrape the gasket. You can use a scraper as well. If there's any gasket material there, you just want to scrape it off. That's good. Just going to use a wire brush, just clean this up a little more. Just lightly. All right, that's good. Now take the gasket, put that there, put the valve right there. Then from underneath, probably easier to get the bolts first. And we'll tighten these down. Now we're going to slide this back in place, get the lines out of the way. Just slide it in that way, kind of upside down a little bit. That's in place. Two smaller screws are going to be at the top. Go into the intake. That's started. And the longer ones are going to go underneath. And the smallest one goes down here. Once those are started, then we can tighten them all down. And snug that up. And I'll snug the other ones up as well. All right, 2 more to tighten. All right. Now take the O2 sensor, get that lined up. And we'll snug that down. That's good. Now we're going to take this pipe, get that lined up. Just get that started up top. And get it lined up down below. All right, that's just started like that. Now we'll go underneath and line it up from underneath. Now I'll line the pipe up. Get the threads started. Make sure that's good. And then we'll tighten this down. And snug that down. Good. Now take this shield, slide that over the axle, put the bolts in. And tighten those down. Now we're going to tighten the nut up top. And make sure that's tight. Now take this hose, line that up, lock it down, just like that. Now we're going to take the hose, use the hose clamp tool, line that up. Line this hose up as well. This went around, so we'll make sure this hose goes around on the outside. It's all lined up. Move this over as well. Is a little retainer right here. This wasn't there before, but that should go like that. Take the connector, line the connector up, lock it down, and the top part of the airbox, line this up. Push it down. We have this clamp that's got to go on here. So I'm just going to have to spread this first, just with some channel lock pliers. And I'll just use some hose clamp pliers and put this back on. That's good. Now I'm going to use the Phillips head screwdriver and tighten down the screws for the top part of the airbox. snug those down. There should be another one right here. Snug that down. Plug this hose in, lock it down. And the wire for the mass airflow sensor. Pull that up, line that up, lock it down.
When only the best will do, demand TRQ. The only company that lets you view before you do. TRQ is committed to offering the highest quality aftermarket auto parts that are engineered for peace of mind. Thanks for using and viewing with TRQ.